Welcome to Health Hacktivators with lifestyle medicine doctor, GP and longevity expert Dr. Alka Patel. This show will help you to discover a hidden health hacking code that unlocks your phenomenal potential for an outstanding health span, lifespan and wealth span. The show features candid conversations with celebrities, influencers and industry icons, real-life stories and cutting-edge health activating advice that other doctors might not tell you. Discover why now is the time to join the strategic self-care revolution and experience the profound effects this will have on your personal and professional success. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alka Patel.
Hi, hey, and hello, Health Hacktivators. This week's show is dedicated to Nicola Bulley, who went missing in January in Lancashire. My heart really does go out to her family and her friends. At the start of the investigation, there was a lot of speculation into her disappearance that then led to the Lancashire police releasing a statement which said that Nicola was suffering from the menopause and that this resulted in mental health and alcohol issues. Now, this statement was very provocative in the way that the menopause was highlighted, provoking questions around, was this information necessary to share? And also provoking thinking about how there could be hundreds of women, thousands, millions around the world struggling with the transition of the menopause without help or support to turn to. Today, I have with me on the show the beautiful Sue Moxley, who talks about her experiences of the menopause. Sue is a TV presenter, she's a journalist, previous beauty editor for The Sun, and currently beauty editor for Menopause Life. She's married to David Van Day, singer from Bucks Fizz, and Sue and David are now also a dynamic singing duo. And Sue's also a lover of dogs. She's an avid supporter of the charities Paws to Rescue and Reen as well. In today's conversation, Sue reveals the effect that vaginal nerve pain through the menopause had early on in her marriage and how the menopause resulted in disordered eating. This is something that she has never spoken about before. Before we get into today's show, please do support today's show partner, Youth and Earth. Youth and Earth have a range of products that I love to use myself to supercharge my metabolism, to support my health, and to slow down cellular aging. Just be sure you click the link in the show notes for exclusive offers, which Youth and Earth are so generously giving for listeners of this show. Hello, Sue. It is so lovely to have you here.
Hello. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. Look, I want to start by talking about the menopause, of course. And I guess it's such a talked about subject. I mean, never has there been a more talked about subject. We're talking about the menopause a lot more than we used to. And yet, we're not talking about it enough. There's this real sort of deep-rooted image, isn't there, of a woman who loses everything because of the menopause. She loses her femininity, she loses her ability to bear children, loses her relevance, she loses her mind. There's still very much this sort of reductionist stigma to the menopause. And I know that you write for Menopause Life. So what are your thoughts on the way that we're writing about the menopause now and talking about the menopause at the moment?
I think women are becoming much more open about it and, welcoming other women to discuss it and self-help groups. And there are quite a few magazines out there now. I think men may still find it a little bit awkward to talk about. But I think that it's getting better. I mean, people like Davina McCall and there's quite a few like high name celebrities that are discussing it, and but I do think it's a huge change in someone's life. I think it affects people differently. I do believe that. I do believe that some women can sail through it, and other women have huge problems with it. And once upon a time it was you'd go to the doctor. They tell you, okay, you're getting old, your life's over, everything's dried up and dropped and whatever, and here's some HRT, go away and get on with it. Whereas now there's a lot more available options. You know, we can change our diet to help. There's something called bioidentical hormones. I'm sure you must know about those, which I take. So that's where you have a blood test and you see exactly what you're lacking in, what you need, and a prescription is made especially for you, so that you get the right amount of whatever it is you need. But I'm not sure that's available to everybody, though. I don't think that's available on the NHS. I think it's still something private. So I think that should be allowed on the NHS. Not sure what you think about bioidentical hormones, because not everyone's
Yeah,
into it.
yeah. I mean, you're right. There's a real swing in the conversation about HRT, isn't there? From something that, 20 years ago, no one was talking about. And if they were, it was very much about, I don't want HRT, because there was so much media around the risk. And I have to say, the media and medical profession have to take massive responsibility for the way that menopause and HRT is being portrayed. But I don't know. I think 20 years later, I mean, when I think back to when my mum, say, was going through this time in her life, there wasn't any conversation, hot flushes, feeling tired, changes to your skin. Women, as you say, seem to get on with it. They didn't really then even reach out for support, want to think about HRT. But 20 years later, that pendulum seems to have swung so far the other way that now it feels as though, I don't know what your feelings are, but I've certainly noticed that the menopause seems to have become the default reason behind everything. Everything seems to come down to the menopause. I mean, in the case of Nicola Bulley, for example, even the police, aren't they? They're now sharing it. Yeah, as though it's sort of some kind of right to share a woman's life cycle with the public. And I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely shocking what they did there. But that's the press and the newspapers for you, isn't it? And but I think that I do think it's getting better in the way that we do talk about it more, and women are not afraid to talk about it. But you are correct. Everyone says, "Oh, it's the menopause." She's gone mad. The menopause, this, that, the other, and that's not a very nice thing for women to have to deal with. It can change your life incredibly. As I said, some people just sail through it. My own mum said she didn't even remember going through the menopause. She doesn't remember anything different at all. Whereas me, I had like really, really bad problems, where
Tell us about some of that. What were you going through?
it's quite deep. And is that okay?
Yeah, look, if you're happy to share, for sure.
Yeah, no, I did actually. So overnight, literally, like sex for me became really, really incredibly painful. Just overnight, something happened, but I didn't know what it was. It was what is this? And I probably spent about 3 years researching, trying different things. I was even on like nerve pain tablets. Is it amitriptyline? Which made me go dizzy and high blood pressure, reading online, all sorts of things. And I really didn't know what was wrong with me. And so I did finally go to see a gynecologist who was like God to me, because he actually said, well, it's very simple what's happening to you. He said is that where you're losing your collagen, your skin around that area becomes thin. So it doesn't just split and tear. It's also kind of like your nerve endings are exposed. And after 3 years, someone just told me that in one sentence. But that took an awful lot of research. And then I treated that going forward. There's something called the Mona Lisa machine, and where you have laser treatment to thicken the walls of your private parts, and then get on the right HRT. And amazingly, I'd say I'm 90% better now. But I kind of had to find that out by myself. you know, awful lot. So I do think there should be loads and loads of, you know, information out there. I do think there is more information than there used to be, but just me saying that, you know, it might say, someone might think, well, that's what happens to me. And I didn't really know what it was, you know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. And thank you for sharing that, because as you say, there's lots of areas around the menopause we do talk about and some that we barely talk about. And as you say, sex is often one of those things, and vaginal dryness. And we sometimes don't even like to use the words around talking about the vulva and the vagina. And
yeah, I hate that word dryness. But it wasn't just that. This is what because you know, everyone says dryness, but I actually had
yeah,
nerve pain.
yeah,
That's the difference, you know. I mean, it isn't just that you need lubrication or whatever. To actually have nerve pain is like, wow, you know. And someone actually said that to me, and it all made sense, like really,
yeah.
really quickly. But yeah, it's a long time to find that out, and I'm very glad I did anyway. So
No, and I'm glad as well. And I think there's something around information as well. Sometimes it's overwhelming information now that we've got, you know, Dr. Google at the end of our fingertips. So it's really important, isn't it, to find the credible information, to know what's specific to you, because I'm so grateful you've shared even that today, because I think there will be some resonance with women and even, you know, men listening. This isn't a conversation only for women to tune into. And I think you have to go on your own journey to really get to exactly what you did, which was the root of it. This isn't the superficial stuff. It's right to the root of it, which in your case, as you say, it's nerves. And we have a different sort of we have sensory changes when we go through the menopause as well. Pain thresholds change, your nerve endings change. And so all of that becomes relevant if that's your specific symptom. And I think that's so important to do, is to go through your journey, become that woman who gets, you know, empowered with information and then finds the way that's the right way for her. So, you know,
but hopefully not take 3
yes,
years to find. Yeah, because that was really dreadful, you know, thinking, well, my life, kind of that part of my life is over. And I'd only really just got married as well, to be honest. It was a second marriage, but yeah, it took me that amount of time. So that's why I'm happy to talk about that, and I have shared it, because I think it's important for
And
other
what about your
women
partner then, Sue?
to.
What was his response to you?
He was absolutely fine, to be honest. But, you know, some men might not have been. Some, you know, they might have. And it really isn't the woman's fault, you know. She can't help that. But he was actually he was fine. He was very supportive. And, you know, there's other things you can do, isn't there?
No, look,
Am I being
not,
too
not at
graphic?
all. But I think, as I said, I think men need to be part of this conversation as well, don't they? I think when it comes to menopause, women supporting women is something that we do.
Yeah.
But for men, it can still feel like quite a mystery. And unless we're involving them in the education and in the information, it will always remain a mystery. So I think the fact that you were able to talk about it, have that sort of more understanding conversation is pretty critical as well at this time, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely.
I think also it caused me another problem as well, which I've never really kind of shared, but I will, is that, you know, throughout my whole life, I was always really slim, like a size 10, and I could eat whatever I wanted, really. People would be absolutely jealous because I could eat, you know, 5 chocolate bars and not put on a pound in weight. I really could. And then suddenly you hit the menopause, and the weight starts to go on, and you know it's menopause weight, because if I did ever put any weight on, which was hardly ever when I was younger, it would go to my thighs, but it goes to your tummy, definitely goes to your tummy, and the love handles and that kind of thing. And for the first time in my life, I had to diet, and then I kind of got into a binge diet situation, and ended up giving myself a eating disorder, to be honest, because of the restriction of dieting all the time. Suddenly you couldn't carry it on anymore, and suddenly you would think, okay, and you eat everything in sight. And I don't just mean, I mean really overboard, you know, binge eating. And yeah, I do believe that that's where I kind of started to have problems with food, of which I'm pretty good now, but that took me a long time to get, because then binging, dieting becomes a way of life. You can't say to yourself, I just want to eat normally, because you're either in diet mode or binge mode. And so I think the menopause started that off as well, which is it's quite mad, isn't it?
Yeah, gosh, thank you for sharing that and feeling you could share that today. I know it sounds as though it's the first time you've done that.
Yeah, it is. First time ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you did so, because you know what, when we talk about eating and what you've described as the sort of eating disorder, we often think about it at the other end of life, don't we? Sort of teenage, young girls. But there's this time.
Yeah, no, I think. Yeah, I mean, I'm an esthetician and a beauty expert. I have lots of women in here, and I think there's a lot more problems with eating than what we know that we know about. I think it's a very secretive thing, and people don't like to share it because they're so embarrassed and feel bad about themselves. But I think I know lots of ladies that have trouble with food, and they're in their 50s and their 60s. Might have started for the same reason as me, really. That you suddenly do put on weight around that age. And it's very unfair, isn't it, the menopause? I think God was a man.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. But I think it's, how do you look at this? Do you look at this as kind of transition in your life, at that kind of new spring of a new part of your life cycle that you can really kind of feel much more grounded in and empowered with? Or back to what I was talking about at the beginning, which is you kind of feel reductionist and smaller and of no significance. And I think that's the conversation, isn't it, is giving you that kind of lease of life when so much is changing about you. And as you say, yes, the weight changes because the hormones are going through such a significant shift, and as you said, you're in the beauty industry, and so much of our identity is connected with our appearance, isn't it? Whether that's
far too much, actually. I think there's so much pressure these days, isn't there? I mean, I was disappointed that I couldn't put a filter on this. Only joking. It's got my ring light.
You really are.
Yeah, so much. Thank you. There's so much pressure. What's it all about? I can remember when I was like 12 or whatever. Sorry, I am quite old. Playing hopscotch and rounders and all of that, and now the kids and the girls are literally on Instagram all day or TikTok, and it's all about what they look like and who's going to the best places and who's got the best clothes. And I think it's such a pressure on young people, not just girls but boys as well. It's quite sad. I think it's quite sad that how our lives have become, or their lives have become all about the internet. It literally is just about the internet. I go out to lunch or something with my husband, and you're having a chat, and you look on the next table, and there's a family, and the mum and dad and the three kids are all on their phone like this. They're not talking to their parents or conversing or having fun. They're just on there the whole time.
You do. You see it all the time, don't you? But so let me ask you, what took you into the beauty industry? Because I guess on one hand you're saying it's all about looks and everyone's so into it, and then on the other hand you're in an industry which sort of adds, I guess, more fuel to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. The thing that I do now is mostly to help people with aging, anti-aging advice and treatments and things like that. But yes, I was always, when I was 16, this is quite a long story, but I'll make it brief. I became a fashion model. So it was all about how I looked, and the internet wasn't around then. It wasn't anything, it was so different. I would go to castings with my portfolio and we'd go, whereas these days they just send pictures over, or you would do it all on the internet. So that was, and I had 10 years of my life as a model, and then traveling the world. It was all about looks. Yeah, it was all about looks, and I don't know how that didn't send me mad, to be honest, because I remember being sent home from a job one day because my boobs weren't big enough. I never did any page. It wasn't that. It was just, I think we were modelling nightwear or something, or girls would be told to go on diets, and they was under that pressure all the time. It's a funny old world, the modelling world. But then from there, I progressed to become a makeup artist.
Yeah.
And so in the same business, but behind the camera. So the pressure was off of me, really. It was making other people look good. And then, so that became my career for 20 years. And in that time, I brought out a makeup brand, which is all over the country, in Superdrug. And I was the beauty editor of the Sun newspaper. So, so that was an education as well. And that's kind of how I then after that went into aesthetics and teaching aesthetics, semi-permanent makeup, dermal fillers, all that kind of thing, Botox. And that's what I do now. But on the side, I am a singer as well, which is random, I know.
Wow, gosh. Thank you for that. Gosh, that's a real journey, isn't it? You've kind of been in the industry, but from different lenses, in front of the camera, behind the camera, now kind of teaching and training, got your own beauty brand as well. And I think you're right. What we see on the outside, it matters because we connect our identity with it. But beauty, of course, does go deeper than the skin as well, doesn't it? And that's what you're talking about with the culture and where we're at the moment as well.
I mean, me having that eating disorder is pure vanity, really, isn't it? I mean, why couldn't I just accept that I'd gone up a few sizes? I'd got older. Why could I not accept that being a couple of sizes bigger is not a problem? But I admit I found it a problem. Mentally, I found it a problem. I don't think you can help that. I think people that can really, really accept themselves are lucky, actually, or very confident, one of the two. They must have masses of self-confidence to be able to accept their faults as well. Maybe being in an industry that I was in made me feel the way I did.
Yeah, remember you've been surrounded by that from the age of 16.
Yeah, trying to carry on looking like I did when I was 20. Yeah, but it's impossible. I can't look like.
Well, you look incredible. I have to say, Sue. You look absolutely beautiful. As I said, you're radiating. There's a real glow, and that's what women want.
The good thing about putting on a bit of weight is it fills your face out, so it fills out the wrinkles and the lines. Yes. Whereas if you get thin, your face, can have drops, and you see all the imperfections. So I think there was a famous actress once, I don't know if it was who it was, and she said, when you get to 50, you have to choose between your face or your body. You can't have both. Can't remember who that was, but I'll find out. I don't know, someone did. Like Diana Dawes.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. You probably never heard of her because you're too young.
But I think you can have both, Sue. I think you can have both, and I think it's not about having both. I think it's also this recognition that when you talk about kind of weight or not accepting, what you are, it's also wanting to be at your healthiest, be at your own best, be where you feel more energized, because the better you feel, the sort of more of that you put out in the world as well, don't you? For sure. And I wanted to ask you about something else, just back to the menopause as well. It's just kind of because we're talking about beauty and stuff like that. It's I was in a well-known high street shop recently, and I mean, it rhymes with roots, but you put your feet in it. And I was pretty surprised to see this range of skin creams and serums and cleansers, and they've all been branded with the word menopause skincare, menopause facial cream, menopause face washes. And this, as you said, this was all used to come under the branding of aging, which is what you're talking about, what your, where your expertise lies as well. But it now seems to all come under the heading of menopause. And I looked at this range and I was like, this is worrying me a bit, because there's this whole sense.
Personally, I think that that's a marketing angle.
Exactly.
It's literally anyone going through the menopause is going to go into that so-called shop or anywhere else and think, that's what I need, because I'm going through the menopause. I need to buy this face cream. If I don't, my face is going to fall apart. But the truth of the matter is, there's nothing different. I know I shouldn't be saying this really, but there's probably nothing different in those ingredients to an anti-aging cream. It's just a marketing thing.
Yeah. But this worries me. I think this is really important to highlight, is that there should be some rigor around sort of testing and credibility. And some of those huge brands are going to have a lot of investment in research and development before they can put that label on. But we have to recognize, as you say, that Bactic connects with the identity. If you're someone who goes in there and you identify with, I'm the one going through the menopause, you're going to gravitate to that. But it's marketing, and we have to be really, really careful that there's credibility behind some of the claims on a lot of cosmetics and skincare products as well.
Well, to be honest, I had my own makeup brand for many years. I mean, I've still got some products, but when I used to go to the factory, where my products were being made, you'd be surprised that a lot. Say you're having a mascara, for example, and you've got this mascara vat which is full of mascara, and your product is being put in that. That mascara is going into your product, but it's also going into lots of other people's products. It's exactly the same, but different branding. And the mascara that, say, I sold was £8, but someone else is charging £38 for the same thing, but that's different packaging. So it's a bit like that with skincare as well. I think that, you need to look at the ingredients on the back, really, and think, am I getting anything extra special with this particular product than I am with something that might be £10 or £15 cheaper, and it's for the masses. So look at the ingredients and see if you are getting anything different. But a lot of the time it is marketing.
Yeah. So I think we just need to raise awareness of that, is turn over the packaging, read the ingredients, know exactly what you're getting. Because again, I'm sure you found this in the back end behind the scenes, that there's also things in products that we really don't want in there, toxins, chemicals. There is a lot of stuff that is actually doing harm as well. So what do you think, what are those magic ingredients then, if there's women listening today, or a partner wants to buy a gift for his girlfriend or his wife, and what are the ingredients that they should be looking for then?
Well, the most important ingredient of all really is sunscreen. So it's something with SPF 30, 40. I mean, most face creams will have SPF in it. And it is the most important thing for anti-aging anyway, because, we're not just talking about getting cancer, but we're talking about, it's the worst thing for aging is the sun. You get pigmentation, premature lines, dried out skin. It's really, really bad. So an ingredient with a product with SPF in it is very important. Vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin D, all those things are really good for the skin. Of course, like most products are kind of probably 80% water as well. If you look on the back of any product, it will have a huge percentage of water. So, but that's with most products. So look for the vitamins and the SPF, and you're kind of on the right road, really. Hyaluronic acid is another really good. Sometimes it's a scary word, hyaluronic acid, because it sounds like you're going to be putting something on your skin that's going to burn it or damage it, but it's what we already have. in our skin, and we just need to put that back. So hyaluronic acid is a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you've sort of lifted the lid on the behind the scenes of how products are made. And as you say, water is a huge component, but we need the hydration. So that's sort of really important. But to really look out for what the kind of active ingredients are. What are your views on sort of more, I guess, plant powered sources? So when you talked about vitamin C, things like, for example, rose oil is a well known sort of source of vitamin C in products.
Well, I'm totally up for natural ingredients like that. I mean, vegan vegan products, because I'm a huge animal lover. I've got 5 dogs, and if my husband would let me, I'd have more, but he says he's going to divorce me if I bring another dog through the door.
You're not going to swap him for a dog, are you?
Might do.
Oh, lovely.
It depends how cute the dog is. So I'm very much into, animal-free products. There's no need for that. I was surprised, actually, that it does still go on, even though we think it doesn't. I mean, I think it's a lot less, but I think animal testing does still go on. But yeah, I'm very much into natural products. I'm a big fan of CBD oil. I don't know if you're a fan of that or not really, or...
Yeah, it's sort of still in those sort of early stages of sort of almost that proof of concept, isn't it? But I think you get the benefits by, as you say, back to that individual level and what's it actually doing directly for whether it's your skin or your mood or other things as well. So,
what do you think? It's still like not been proven? Is that what you just said? Or?
Well, I'm definitely not one to wait for big, large scale studies to prove something. But I think at the moment it's very much kind of case by case basis, isn't it? And I think that's important. I think that it's very, very important for that. I always call it the N=1 experiment, where you're the most important person. And whatever you're doing, if you're making sure that your risk benefit, your risk and harm ratio is much more in favor of benefit, then I'm up for, really trying anything and everything, so long as you're using data and information to really understand the effect on you. Because it's, we can put all sorts of things, say, on our skin, and by the time we put 4 different products on, it's like, well, I don't really know which made a difference or didn't make a difference.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I just I have used CBD in facials and things, and I just find that it is very good anti-inflammatory.
Right.
I definitely think that's my opinion, that it helps to calm down inflammation and overly sensitive skin. I do find that. But then once again, there's good and bad products out there. There's people that have jumped on the bandwagon, and I mean, there must be 500 brands or more now of CBD, and they're not all what they are cut out to be. So
what do women say when you say I'm offering CBD facials? Because that's quite novel, isn't it?
I don't know. It's become quite a big thing in the last couple of years. Some people go, "Ooh, that sounds nice." They think they're going to get high on it or something, which they're certainly not, because there's no THC in it. I mean, like a minute 0.1%. So it isn't that at all. Some people are a bit scared. They think it might be going to change the way they feel or do something bad to them. And some people are very up for trying it. So, it's just, I quite like the thought of CBD helping people. So and it is natural. It comes from a plant.
Yes, exactly. Which is what I was going to come back to. Is it's looking back at the source of this, and you get a lot of. We're talking about the menopause, of course, but you get a lot of phytoestrogens from, as you say, from plants, which can then have a very direct positive effect on the skin as well. So that's definitely kind of another source, because it's mimicking the effects of estrogen. They get absorbed. They can help with that collagen and elastin that you were talking about as well. So there's definitely, as you say, moving towards the sort of power of plants, those natural ingredients, looking for those on the back of your skincare products, and trying those, I would say, is the primary, compared to the kind of, the bigger brands that we're so used to. I think that it's really important to as well support, as you did, start up your own brand, make sure you've got real clarity on the ingredients that are going in there, thinking about those natural solutions, having enough kind of research behind what you're doing to make sure that that you know exactly what's going on to your skin is so important. It's one of the biggest organs that we have in our body, and it's got lots and lots of microbes all over it, and so we really need to think about what are we doing best for our skin, don't we? Because it all connects.
I think as well that I do think that like anxiety and stress and things does affect your skin as well. I do think that. Do you not think that if
massively.
you have, anxiety and depression, or I do think that it can affect the way we feel physically. I do. I think it can cause illnesses and skin problems.
There's absolutely a whole sort of mind, body, gut, skin connection, which is very, very connected through your whole nervous system, through the hormones that we're producing, things like serotonin, for example. So there's a lot more research that's being done in this area, and we have to kind of open our eyes to this is how we should be thinking about all of those connections, and connecting what you eat, well, how you feel, to what shows up on your skin, and all of that is where you need to start channeling. If you're not feeling great, if your skin's having a breakout, it's not just about, right, I'll put this anti-acne lotion on or try this cream. It's really thinking about as well, how am I sleeping? How am I moving? How am I eating? What sunlight am I getting?
From inside. Yeah. I'll tell you a quick little story about my little Yorkshire Terrier. She gets epileptic fits, and she also gets these really horrible, gunky, runny eyes. And she won't let me wipe her eyes. She goes mad. She actually bites me. But, I recently changed her diet to something. I won't mention any brands, but it's quite expensive. The food is cooked especially for dogs, and it's got all these vitamins in and hasn't got any nasties in it. I swear to you, in the 3 months that she's been on this diet, she's only had 2 tiny little fits. Usually she gets 1 a week, and her eyes have completely cleared up. So that, it has to be the food, it has to be the diet change that's done that.
Amazing.
So it's so important what you eat.
Totally. And you know what? Like sometimes we eat the stuff that we wouldn't even feed to our pets. And that's crazy. The stuff that we're eating, all the kind of over-processed food, as an example, if you think about just your little story with your lovely little Yorkshire Terrier there, is why don't we treat ourselves the same way? Because we'll notice the difference as well.
Yeah, that really shocked me. Absolutely. I can't tell you how that shocked me, because I thought, wow, this can't be. She's 9 years old. She's had epilepsy. I don't know if if there's a connection between epilepsy and food. I don't know, but she's 9 years old. She's always had these fits, and they're really unpleasant. And why has it changed? Because of this, and then I thought to myself, if it can do that to a dog, a change of diet, what must it do to people? Eating the wrong things, or indeed eating the right things. It's incredible. So that makes me think now, every time I go to pick up the chocolate or the ice, because sugar's my thing. I like sugar, and it's not good for your sugar. So that makes me think now. I think about Pebbles, my dog, and how her life has changed for her diet.
And absolutely, because food for your body, it's information. Food is education. It uses all those molecules in your food to signal and connect, and then decide what it's going to make more of or less of, or how it's going to affect your nervous system or your biology. And if we start thinking of food like that, then we can really have a focus, like you are. You're a little bit more focused now on, should I or shouldn't I? Can I or can't I? Will I or won't I? Right?
It doesn't take the cravings away, though. You still get the cravings, but it helps a bit to know, that, you really should be putting good things in your body.
Yeah, and there's always that pause between a craving and taking action. And guess who's in charge? I know it's hard, right? Because the cravings come strong and fast, but there's always that moment of pause. And I always say that just wait, really think about, is this something that I need right now? Or do I?
But it is hard when you've kind of given yourself like a kind of eating disorder over time,
Yeah.
and that's become normal. The way that that's become your normal. You have got that subconscious, which is kind of like 90% of us, isn't it? And then our conscious is 10%, and they're having a battle. And your conscious self is saying you shouldn't eat that, then your subconscious is going, go on, eat it, eat it, eat it. So it's having that battle in your head. But yeah, it's good advice actually to pause and then try to let that feeling pass.
Yeah. And it's back to
Unfortunately, it does come back again.
and it will, because it's designed to, right? That's what your brain and mind do. They bring thoughts to you constantly, 50, 60,000 a day. But it's back to what you were talking about right at the beginning, which is about your identity. You've got to know why you don't want that piece of chocolate or that piece of cake. Because if you don't have that connection with the reason, then of course the sort of the willpower, the self-control, the desire, the craving is going to overtake. So you've got to connect with that, person that you are. I'm healthy, I'm energetic, I'm vibrant. What would a vibrant woman do right now? What would an energetic woman do right now? What would a healthy woman do right now? And if you connect that piece with you, with your identity, then you're much less likely to even want the chocolate. You can have it if you want it, but you don't want it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think if you get on the correct path and you do get in control of your diet and your exercise and the way you treat yourself and your rest and your sleep and all of that, the better and better you feel. It just gets better and better. Whereas if you're on a downward spiral, you think, well, there's nothing else that's going to make me feel better than to eat a bar of chocolate or 6 ice creams, or I'm going to do that, because you're on that downward spiral, which that just makes you worse and worse. So yeah, you need to get on the good path, and things just get better and better. So I know I've been there, I've done both.
So what do you do now, Sue? What do you do to self-care, to take care of yourself?
Well, I do a lot of walking with my dogs. I mean, sometimes I have to do 2 walks because if my husband doesn't come with me, I can't manage 5 dogs. It's chaos. And where I live, everyone goes, oh no, here she comes. The mad dog woman, they're barking and they run away from me. Oh. So I sometimes do it twice. So I do a lot of walking. Okay. I love my sleep. I sleep a lot. I think I need that amount of sleep. Yeah. I do try to eat well, although sometimes I do fall back into I still get the sugar cravings and I have to battle with that. But yeah, I look after myself. I don't sit in the sun. I'm very anti the sun. If you want to keep looking good, ladies, you need to stay out of the sun. I don't smoke. I don't really drink alcohol that much. Occasionally, I think it's okay occasionally. But it's not it's not really my thing. Yeah, I kind of put a tiny bit of filler in my face sometimes, and so what? I'm allowed. We're allowed to do that if that's what we want to do. So yeah, positive thinking as well. Positive thinking, which is not always easy.
No, but the more confident you are, whether that's with how you look, but if that's where that comes from, the more confident you feel, the more likely you are to take those positive health actions that you've been taking, and you're feeling much more conscious about those and having that kind of bigger awareness of your choices and making the decisions that work for you. And that's where that comes from, doesn't it? You've got to have the self-confidence and the self-belief to do that, which is great.
Yeah. And well, I'm literally doing a course at the moment, believe it or not. I'm kind of 62, but I still learn new things all the time.
Are you 62, did you say?
Yeah.
You're not 62.
I am 62.
Wow.
So I still, people go, oh, you should be retiring. I don't want to. I'm learning. I am actually doing a course at the moment, and it's called Belief Coding. And I'm not going to plug it or anything like that, but it is literally about changing your beliefs and turning negative thoughts into positive ones. And it doesn't always work, but I'm practicing it a lot, and I'm trying to do it every day. You know, when I go to bed of a night now, I have these new beliefs that I want to code in, and I say them before I go to bed every night out loud. And that's what I'm trying to do as well, to become more positive. Get rid of the negative thoughts, code in the positive ones.
And there's more to it than just something that you do. There's definitely a lot of brain science with that, and they've done a lot of research around that shows that those kind of affirmations that you make that have a positive twist to them then affect your actions. So affirmations affect actions. What you think, you then do. And it's not the sort of, there's science to it. It's not just a woo woo, I feel great, I am amazing, and all of that, but it's really coding in that belief, because you can say it all day long, but do you believe it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So you have to believe it for it to work. But I'm as I said, I'm doing this course, and it's very interesting, and so I'm trying everything to become a really positive, healthy person. Because at my age, you've got to start looking after yourself.
Yeah, at every age, right? And it just sometimes feels as though at this stage, it feels like it's got a higher importance. But it is important at every age, because what you do now affects what happens tomorrow or what happens next month and next year. So you make those decisions right now, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm so glad to do this.
I mean, I think people are more aware of health these days, though. I mean, when I was younger, people used to. I mean, when we were kids, we would sunbathe. Sometimes we would bunk school. Yeah, if it was a really hot day. Do you know what bunking school means?
Oh yeah,
we'd
I
skip
do.
School.
I know what that means.
And we would, in the summer of '76, there was a heat wave, and we used to skip school and go over to this waterfall and cover ourselves in oil and fry, basically. lay in the sun and fry with this oil. I mean, it was like baking oil. It wasn't a suntan oil. It was literally baking oil. And when I think about that now, oh my God, it's so bad for you. But we didn't really know about skin cancer and the effects of the sun and all that sort of thing. And I think we are much more aware now of things that can do us harm and damage,
And I think it's got to be, I always talk about the sort of Goldilocks effect, which is not too little and not too much, but just the right amount, because the sun is a beautiful thing. And every day, if you get out every morning and just look into the sunlight, even if it's cloudy, you start to set your rhythms for the day. So that's one thing, not to be afraid of the sun, because also you get your vitamin D from it, right? Exactly. So it's just getting it just right and knowing what that is.
Yeah, you do need your vitamin D, but you can walk around in the sun and get that vitamin. But it's just, like I said, laying in it for hours and hours with oil to see. My mum used to say when I got home from school, "How have you got such a suntan?"
I cooked to myself, Mum. Yeah. Whilst I was studying.
Found out eventually.
Oh, love it. So where do you see the trends going then in terms of sort of the beauty world and what you're doing?
Well, definitely, like we've discussed all the way through this today, is like menopause is becoming a huge thing. It really is. There's more menopause magazines out there. There's more menopause products. So I think we're going to see more and more of that. Maybe it'll hit a peak and then settle down again, because it's definitely a huge thing. But like I said, I think a lot of it is marketing. I think things like, what I do, aesthetics, I think that's not going to go away, to be honest. And it does need to be more regulated, because there's so many people just can go and do like a half a day course and then start sticking injections in people's faces. And, it does need to have better regulation.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to go away. I think aesthetics and surgery and things like that is here to stay. I do, because people, they want to look younger and good. No, and it doesn't always work. So they can do too much, or it can go wrong. But also, you don't hear about all the really good things when people do have little tweaks and it looks nice. And I'm all for it. Well, I would be. It's my business. But if you can buy new clothes, why not have a little tweak on your face? If that makes you happy and you can afford it, it's your money, as long as you go to the right people.
Yeah, you're right.
And don't get obsessed with it. People get obsessed with it and then they do more and more and more, and in the end they look like, say, Madonna did the other day.
And it was literally the image that was coming up in my head was, this is the sort of stuff we end up seeing on the media, is where it all goes completely wrong. And I'm
not sure what's happened to her face. I mean, it's so big. It's like, has she put on weight? Maybe, I don't know, but it's she must have a lot of filler in there, or she's put on weight as well. I don't know, but it doesn't look good. No.
But I'm coming back to what you said about being obsessed by it. I mean, do you think, and we talked a little bit about, addiction, and talked about your eating disorder and sometimes these cravings, and sometimes it's really hard to resist that. I mean, I think about people who have tattoos, for example, and I don't know anyone who's just had one. You have one and you want a little bit extra. Is this what you're finding as well? I mean, you must have a lot of clients who come back repeatedly, of course, but do they come back for more? Is it possible to just...
Okay, so I think the ladies of my age that come here, 50s and 60s, they just want to look like they used to look. Yeah, they don't particularly want to have big lips or this or that. They just want a little refresher and to look fresh and young. It's the younger girls that become really, really addicted to filler and, Botox. I mean, I have girls of like 20 or 25 asking me for Botox. You really don't. I mean, yes, it is a good preventative, but you don't need it at 20. You really don't. And then I have girls that come to me to get fillers dissolved, where they've had so much, they look ridiculous, or they've had all their jawline done or their cheeks, and they look like a completely different person. I find it's the younger people that are addicted to it very much more than like the older age group. And once again, that's social media doing that. That's Instagram and... where they're looking at these girls with perfect lips and perfect brows and completely smooth faces that have had a lot done, but also everyone puts filters on and they look amazing. They don't really look like that in real life.
But where do you draw the line? As you said, this is an unregulated industry. Interestingly, I was at a lady's house at the weekend, just having my eyelashes done, and she was telling me about another client, a mum that came with her daughter, and her daughter was 9 years old, and she came to get her nails done, not her lashes, but she wanted some gels done. And
oh no, what a 9-year-old.
And she was really worried that, where do you draw this line? Here's a mum who's bringing her daughter, saying, can you just do these gels for her? And it might have been a nice mother-daughter day out, but where do you kind of draw that line that, we'll just paint your nails at home, darling? The sort of stuff we used to do when we were kids, right? At home, you'd get out your nail varnish and you'd paint your teddy and you'd paint everywhere, right? And you just have some fun with it. But where do you draw the line? Where does this start? If it's starting as young as 9, something's going wrong.
Well, to me, I'm sure that must be the mother rather than the daughter. No, I don't know, but no, that's ridiculous. Of course, little girls like to paint their nails, but you don't really want to be putting gels on, because at the end of the day, they can damage your nails, and she could end up with deformed nails when she gets older. That is a little bit of a worry. I recently got a letter through from the council, because I have licenses here and things like that, saying that it was now illegal for me to inject anyone under the age of 18, even with parents' consent. So that's a good thing. That must have just come in.
Yeah.
I literally got that letter about 2 weeks ago. It is illegal now for for anyone under the age of 18 to have any injectables. Yeah, definitely. But having gel nails at 9.
Yeah. And you also teach as well, don't you? You do the training for others who in the industry.
I train. Hopefully, I train everyone really well, and we bring in lots of health and safety. And my courses are like 3, 4 a week, 2 weeks. Whereas some of these young people that are doing injections are literally going out and going on a half-a-day course, and they're not insured. They haven't got licenses, and they're going out, and it is dangerous sticking. And this is where you get all the bad press against aesthetics, because it doesn't need to be like that, In the right circumstances, it can be, it's a good thing, as long as it's done correctly and legally.
Yeah. Absolutely. It definitely needs that. I mean, it's complicated. The anatomy of the face is complex.
Exactly. I mean, it's huge. You definitely need to do your anatomy and physiology, because it's dangerous. Yeah, you can block veins and all sorts. Yeah.
Well, look, let's end on a positive note. Sue, what's a message you want to share with everyone listening?
Well, enjoy your life, because we only get one, and we never know what's around the corner. So enjoy your life. Eat well, be healthy, be positive, laugh a lot, have fun. If you don't like animals, get yourself a dog or a cat, because they bring so much joy. And I think I feel so much more relaxed around my animals. Well, apart from when they're trying to bite the ankles of my window cleaner. But what I mean is they bring a lot of joy. Don't stress about the small stuff, as they say. And make the most of every day. Live a healthy life and have fun.
Very sensible advice stuff. So if everyone listening just does one bit of that, then we're all going to have a much happier day, aren't we? So
thank you.
Thank you so much, Sue. It's been a real pleasure, and thank you for sharing. I know some of what you shared today really came from the heart.
It's quite personal. But hopefully it will help somebody.
I know it will.
Nice to talk to you.
You too. Menopause and its impact, as you've heard, can be incredibly far-reaching, both in terms of physical health and emotional health. And I'm so very grateful to Sue today for sharing her own experiences about her relationships with sex and her relationships with food through her menopausal transition. I know this will resonate with some of you listening. So if, like Sue, this is not something you've ever spoken about before, then please do talk about it, because you don't have to struggle on with your symptoms on your own. And as I always say on this show, you can reach out to me as well. And just thinking about Sue's weight gain and the change in physique that resulted in her dieting in ways which led to disordered eating. Well, for next week's episode, what I want to do is to share with you how hormonal changes through the menopause affect not just your eating patterns, but also affect how food is metabolized, and how you can then specifically target this without yo-yo diets that don't work, so that weight gain doesn't become this default for you at all. Once again, my thoughts are with Nicola and her family. I wish you a health-activating day.